All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeoGuessr video. I'm recording this one pretty late at night, but I wanted to get something out for you guys on this fine Tuesday. So, recording this the night before, kind of a shotgun performance for me, but no worries there. I'm, trying to qualify for the Open Major Qualifiers, of course, and that pretty much entirely depends on your competitive ranking. So it assigns a certain amount of points to each player based on where they are on the leaderboard in relation to the other players. And you get points after every week for 4 weeks, and the highest 16 performers essentially get thrown into a big open major tournament, which I believe is happening at the end of June. So trying to qualify for that. Just going to try my best. I mean, no real high expectations there, but certainly going to try our best here to qualify. And I thought, what better way to get you guys some content than commenting over my ranked games here. I feel like I didn't want to commentate over the ranked games like in full because certainly need to lock in. So I'm doing a voiceover after the fact, so hopefully you guys appreciate this, and I'll just run through my guesses and talk about why I'm guessing where I'm guessing, essentially. So let's hop into it here. All right, and our first opponent is Jewel here at 1904. We're at 1864, so some elo to be gained here. Been pretty fluctuating the past few days. But we hop into this round, black car, long antenna. We do have a city on the hill there with a pretty sizable mountain to the south. Initially, I'm a bit confused. Just because I'm not sure like where in Spain this would be. I would say black car, long antenna is definitely more common in Spain than it is in France, where it ends up being south of Perpignan. Yeah, makes sense with the mountain to the south, obviously looking at the Pyrenees and, just that wine valley there. All right, we move into Peru here. Gen 4. And I do notice, I do check eventually, but it is a very old copyright here, 2023. And I know most of the southern stuff, at least with this greenery, or like it was very limited, like Amazonian Peruvian coverage. So initially I just think near Tingo Maria makes a lot of sense. I probably should have scanned this a bit more. Like, I don't know why I've gone here when the mountain to the north doesn't line up. Like, that is a massive mountain right there. And I just completely neglected it. I was like, oh, this curve looks terrible. But yeah, you guys won't be able to see my facial reaction, but my face cam clearly shows that, yeah, I didn't really like that guess, but yeah, it just ends up being Puerto Oquerpa there, Oserpa. But yeah, I just end up missing it. No big deal. We'll move into round 3. And we'll try our best on this Oman round, so yeah, I don't know what this panning is. Dude, I play weird, man, when I play no move. But yeah, very red soil. So I'm thinking somewhat more near the coast. You get it a bit more coastal is this red soil. First I looked there, but the yellow road here looks okay. If I recall correctly, I don't think that road is like super red soil like this. So you guys will see where it ends up being, but yeah, it just ends up being on the yellow road a bit more southwest, which makes a bit more sense, and angle-wise works as well. So tough one there. Round 4. We move into a Japan round. And looking at this, we do have a horizontal plate, as shown on that silver plate on the pole to our southwest. So I do know we're in Tohoku somewhere. And I thought Sendai looked okay, but maybe I should have lined up that's clearly a mountain right there to the south, which is quite weird that we have a east-west mountain. And you guys will see where this ends up being. Just ends up being Niigata, in which the mountain kind of lines up a bit better there with the coast. But we both end up going Sendai there, which is 7 points for Jewel. He is currently on the flawless as we move into round 5. And first thing, obviously, you can just see that monolithic mountain there. And yeah, that pretty much indicates we will be guessing Espirito Santo with that exposed, very huge rock mountain. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try to line up the mountain. It's just not worth it, I think, in the amount of time that it'll take. But it does end up being a bit more north in Espirito Santo there. And we pick up our first points of the duel, which is big. I guess. Round 6, double damage. And we move into a Philippines location. Dirt road, looks like we are... I mean, not the easiest of locations, I would say. I was trying to figure out what that mountain was, because it does like look like a volcano. I'm pretty sure it is a volcano. So yeah, realistically, with the volcanoes, in most cases, I probably should be going more north with this kind of landscape, because we can see into like a big valley in the west. But yeah, I look at a couple mountains, I'm like, you know, that doesn't look that great to me. But it's very dry season coverage, like, I guess, you know, it could be Mindanao somehow. But once I didn't find it, I should have probably switched to Luzon. And yeah, end up checking, and it just ends up being that mountain. And we're looking to a huge city there to the west, so a bit of a tough one, round 7. 2.5 X damage now. And we are in Argentina here. And I don't know, I'm not the best at Argentina in general. It's probably one of the countries that I need to learn the most. Sometimes you can pick up a vibe, but other times, yeah, you just troll it. And I was just like, oh, the road angle looks okay for Cordoba or that area, but it just ends up being BA, which makes a lot of sense. It was very flat, very agricultural looking. Yeah, I'm just not the best at Argentina in general. Lucky to not lose more points there. All right, black back a sign here. We have, you know, white outer painted lines, which is, I would say, most common in Italy, with no center line, because Italy goes through the trouble of painting all of their lines. Like if this road was in Austria, I feel like you would just get a road. You most of the time wouldn't get a white painted outer line, but even these small roads is going to have a white painted outer line, and it was just near Rima here, Western Alps. And we kind of go for the same guess. So me and Jewel, you guys will see in this game, we are making very similar guesses. I don't know if that's like a testament to how both of our brains work, or if we're just making the correct logical guesses, which I would like to think it's the latter, but who knows. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about Candy here, because it is a little bit hilly, but it does seem a bit more like coastal, and guest house, I guess, probably somewhere down there in South Colombo. So round 10, quad damage. Move into a little Mexico here. I see striped car 2023. I mean, you won't get that striped car in Colombia, so we know we're in Mexico. Sun is south anyway, and this just looks like agricultural fields around Mexico City, so I just decided to plonk a bit north of Mexico City. Makes sense with the striped car as well. A lot of Gen 3 coverage with that striped car around Mexico City, and it ends up being in the eastern portion of Puebla. But round 11, 4.5x damage now. We hop into a little bit of short antenna, and then I notice the architecture, and I'm like, this is very Po Valley-esque. Po Valley in Gen 3, ton of fog. So yeah, this is probably just going to be a slam middle. Try not to lose points, because there's not really too much we can region guess off of on this round. And yeah, it just ends up being west, southwest of Milan there. That's going to be 284 points. And yeah, we're pretty dead set even going into round 12, 5x damage now. In which we get a Sweden here, red car, short outer dash lines. Yeah, for me, I was thinking this doesn't look too far north. Like if you look at some of these fields and the thick tree coverage that we got there, I was thinking maybe just hedging around Stockholm is good. I have been told that red car is like, actually, I'm going to retract that statement. But it does end up being north of Gothenburg there. And we move it around 13, 5.5x damage. I don't want to spread false information, guys, so I won't. All right, this round, actually quite funny. You guys will see what happens, but we have white car here. A very, very red soil, and a massive oil palm plantation to the east there. I was for a second considering Indonesia. I thought the metal poles were a bit weird, atypical for Malaysia. But I was like, I can't think of where in Indonesia would look like this, with how jungly it looks, I guess, in that way. It's just kind of a different vibe. With the red soil as well, I struggled to think of where it would be this hilly. So I end up going Sabah. My map does a little bit of weird panning there because I flicked it, I guess. And it just ends up being west of Kuantan, but me and Jewel end up both going Sabah. Either of us could have won there if we had gotten that round, but we don't. And we move into round 14, in which we have a interesting Gen 4 antenna car. And it looks like we're driving left, so I'm immediately thinking UK here over Ireland. Not too many places in Ireland you're going to get hills like this driving through it. And yeah, I considered South Scotland, but I also considered North England, like somewhere in the Dales. I think the mountains would look a bit different in the Dales, but I also thought the mountains would look a bit different more north in Scotland, so I thought this was like maybe a better guess. Like maybe I should just be hedging border if I'm not sure. Because I feel like the mountains would be a bit more barren as you get more into North Scotland there, and you can see me looking at it, but yeah, it ends up being South Scotland there, near Menach Pass. And yeah, only 480 points there. And we move in around 15, 6.5. We get a France. Yeah. French bollards. I thought the pines looked a little bit more coastal. I feel like I wouldn't necessarily see those pines in... yeah, you see me looking at it a couple times, but... I feel like I wouldn't necessarily see those pines like eastern France even, so I hedge a bit more west. It just ends up being north. They end up going south of Bordeaux, and we end up getting the win off of that. So, I mean, overall, a pretty boring no-move game, I'd say. But we end up getting the dub, so can't be mad at it. And for this next game, we're just going to hop straight into it, and it's TNT Dev, as you guys know. Dev was in the World League, but dropped out. But yeah, one of the nicest guys in the community and just an overall great dude. So I'm glad to see that he's still playing Geo after he dropped out of the World League because, you know, I really wanted to see him succeed and do well. But I'm glad that he's still playing Geo, and I'm glad that he's still thriving, of course. Shout out, Dev. And yeah, we end up getting a Spain there. Not too much to talk about. We had a Spanish no hunting sign, so pretty straightforward. End up going near Sevilla, and he ends up going near Extremadura. But yeah, just ends up being near Madrid. All right, we hop into this US round now. US flag, very red soil. I'm not sure what that property marker is. Maybe somebody knows. I don't. Yeah, it ends up looking very like near Florida, but not exactly Florida. So I just end up clicking like near southeastern Alabama, kind of near Tri-Point-ish, and it just ends up being like somewhat south middle Georgia. Dev going for a similar hedge there as we hop into round 3. And this one, I thought it looked similar to a round that we got on a Rainbow Daily Challenge prior. But yeah, I just thought the landscape looked a bit too like maybe a bit too many trees and a lot of pines for it to be like in that Nevada location that it was in the last one. So I ended up thinking about Washington, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the Snake River is a bit too big for this because it's a bit of a smaller river. And yeah, I was thinking of switching like to somewhere near Boise as well, but I just thought it fit too well. And yeah, it just ends up being this border river with Washington, Oregon. Makes a lot of sense. 137 points though for Dev, and we hop into round 4. And this one, okay, you guys will see what happens here. I don't know what went through my head. Like, I immediately thought it was Florida for some reason. You guys can kind of understand why, maybe, but I feel like this road looks very different. And yeah, I don't know why my mind just automatically went to Florida and didn't think of Mexico at all. My player cam reaction is quite funny. You guys won't see it, but it's just me laughing because I'm like, dude, what am I doing? Like, thank goodness that was on no multis because that would have been like quite the embarrassing way to lose. All right. Random Europe Force location here, 2023. I do like these locations because, you know, country's not so obvious. Because the way of thinking that I usually go into it is country first, then region guess after. And when the country's not obvious, neither is the country's not obvious for the opponent as well. So they're just trying to get the country right and not try to region guess, and we just both end up going in Germany there. Just ends up being north near Denmark. I don't really know how to get that. Maybe it had a bit more of a coastal vibe, but who knows? Round 6, double damage now. In very clear Mexico here, we got the striped car once again. Like I said, very common around that Mexico City area. Definitely look like Mexico City, high altitude stuff to me, so I just click in that national park south of Mexico City. And we end up being somewhat close. It ends up being the next national park over. They go for the Durango guess, which I like as well. I don't know how much striped car is up there. I would encourage you guys to look on your own, but yeah. It probably exists, but I don't want to say definitively that it does. All right, this road to me going north-south, immediately my mind thought of this area north of Balkash, south of Karaganda, because it is very dry winter coverage here. And this road gets very desolate, deserty looking, kind of Mongolia-esque with redder soil, I guess. And I don't know why my brain is looking at this road like this makes any sense. Because the road does not line up here. It's going straight for quite a long while. I see dev sense. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't line up at all. Because it's not straight enough of a road for that long of a time. And as you guys can see, it's very long and straight. So I end up making the last second switch down to closer to Balkash, which I noticed like lines up a bit better. And we end up getting a decent guess here. So probably like a little bit undeserved, but it happens, you know. Round 8. Triple damage. In Ecuador here, we do have the Ecuadorian bollards. These ditches on the side of the road is quite common in both Ecuador and Peru. Wouldn't say so much in Colombia, but it does exist. But yeah, Ecuador here, all white plates as well. And at first I think about Ibarra. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like Pasto to me. So I hedge a bit more south, and it just ends up being a bit more south, like west of Riobamba there. And we pick up the win. So yeah. We get 2 wins there, which is nice. We're up to 1901. I don't think you guys can really see that there because my cam's going to be blocking it, but we're up to 1901 there. I feel like we need to get 2,000 at least to get in some contention for good points, so I'm going to try to be grinding this week. I'll try to record like a set of duels for you guys, just so you guys can, just so I can talk and explain over some of them. I don't think I'm going to record all of them, though, but I probably will record some, just so I have some content to talk over and for you guys to watch, of course. And for the next couple weeks, I feel like my duels are, you know, my content is mainly going to be focusing on duels and all that stuff. All right. I will skip forward to the next game here, and we get a no-move game against Jewel. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the strongest no-move player, but I feel like I can like somewhat compete in no-move as long as I'm using my brain sometimes and I don't just slam. Because I really need to think about rounds and actually send where it makes sense rather than just getting the country, because that's not how it works on no move anymore. You kind of need to region guess. All right, here, I notice we have some Sask pulls, like 2 insulators on one side, 1 insulator on the other, and that alternates moving over to the next pull. So on the other pull, it's 2 insulators on the other side where the 1 insulator was, if that makes sense. Anyway, we are looking at some roads here in Sask. Yeah, it did look pretty north to me. That's initially why I'm scanning quite north here. I mean, this road does not exactly line up. Neither does that part of the road. So immediately disregard. I do end up just slamming there. And yeah, you see me zoom into that road briefly, but it just ends up being that white road off of there, which was probably quite findable, but I'm quite mad at myself for missing that. But it happens. You know, that's just the game sometimes. And it was on no multi, so. All right, round 2. I do notice we have, I don't know if I ever highlighted it, but we do have like that stock at the top, but it doesn't have the holes going through that you would have in Kyushu. Yeah, and we do have that, the little support on the bar that's going, that's like the arm thing going out of the pole, which, to my knowledge at least, is quite common in Shikoku and Chugoku. But yeah, I kind of just go with the stock, and I guess Kyushu anyway. But that makes a lot of sense that it's Shikoku there with the bar. And yeah, right on the coast, of course. You could kind of sense that the water was there. All right, this round. Yeah, very red soil here. I really struggle with Amazon rounds like this sometimes, especially when it's Gen 3. Just because I can't really get a vibe for the difference. I feel like maybe I just need to play like Amazon Brazil a little bit. But yeah, we have a lot of these palms, which you can see a lot throughout all the cultivated Amazonian places. And I'm choosing Acre here. I mean, I think it makes sense with the red soil. I don't like the grid that much, but yeah, it just ends up being Maraba. And that little road to the east. And that's a great guess by Jewel. No hopping around 4. Sorry. And we are in Rwanda here. Yeah, I think I'm taking a bit more time with these rounds. Like, normally I would just be slamming Rwanda here, but I do feel like points matter. And it's important to make a good guess. A logical guess, at least. So initially I look at this forest park with that ridge to the east. We saw a big ridge to the east. I'm looking there. That doesn't really line up. There's a ridge there, but that doesn't really make sense. There's a ridge here, which I'm like, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't look that great. And just ends up being the ridge over. Yeah, I mean, that would be hard to line up, but it's certainly findable, I think. But it happens. Round 5, 1.5x damage. And okay, this round, for some reason, with the India cam, it's hard for me to tell exactly what language it is. I thought it was Tamil. Which you guys will see it ends up not being, of course. It ends up being the Kerala language. I don't know if it's Keralan or if it's something else, but I do believe they are 2 different languages, yes, but it's hard for me to tell. So I just end up slamming like the part in Tamil Nadu that has a lot of mountains like this, which is like the northern part. It just ends up being like Kerala right over the border, so maybe it was Keralan, whatever language it is. Sorry, I'm not too versed on my Indian languages, but yeah. End up making the wrong state guess, round 6. This one, I probably should have been more confident because it is a paved road going east-west. That is non-Gen 4, and I feel like a lot of the Para stuff got recovered. Like in Gen 4 at least now. So, you know, did I say it was in Gen 4? This is in Gen 3. This obviously doesn't line up because I see that the road is curving to the south there. So yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm seeing it doesn't line up. This actually might be Gen 4 as well. So I don't know why I'm scanning this. I can't lie to you. I actually don't know if this is Gen 4, but I would assume it is. Because a lot of Rondonia has Gen 4. And I'm scanning this, and I'm like, no, that doesn't really make sense. Because the road doesn't line up. So yeah, I don't know why I didn't go to the western road initially, right? Yeah, I'm just making sure which way it curves there, basically, by looking again. But yeah, paved road, very red soil, looks quite Amazonian. I don't know how my brain didn't go to the Acre road immediately. Look, now I'm even scanning Maraba because I was a bit scared of that previous round in which it was Maraba. But then I realized, like, maybe it's just the Acre road here. And, like, this lines up okay. But yeah, it just ends up being a bit further west and like, obviously there's a town there, I guess, if that makes sense. Because, like, where I clicked, I don't think we would see any buildings. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I probably should have logically looked for a town, and I probably should have logically found that location earlier. But yeah, we do end up in Sweden here. It's interesting that this is Gen 3 camera, and we're in an urban setting. Like, I feel like most of the time, most of it was recovered in Gen 4, so it's a bit interesting to me that it's Gen 3. I see a bunch of white houses, so I'm thinking a bit further south. Yeah, you can see where I click initially. I initially clicked Gotland because I'm like, does that make sense? I guess it could with Gen 3, but it just ends up being some random town on the main road, in fact. So I don't know. Maybe that town hasn't gotten recovered in Gen 4. I don't know why it wouldn't, but yeah. Or maybe it was just a random pano. All right, round 8, triple damage. We get a Netherlands here. Really thinking about this location. I don't know why that much. I mean, it makes sense to always think about the locations, but yeah, just looking around, it looks quite middle, to me at least. Pretty built up, but yeah. So I just clicked near Amersfoort, Utrecht, and it just ends up being near Amersfoort. So yeah, we pick up 108 points there. We hop into round 9, 3.5x damage. In Germany, this is quite a long scan, actually. I look at the bus, and I'm trying to figure out, what does Tekath mean? It's probably nothing. But sometimes you can get a lot of information from buses, especially. And it's usually, obviously, these buses are probably serving at least somewhat of a big city. And we have a lot of traffic on this road, so it does look like we are near a big city. We have a building peeking out, a radio tower there as well. I don't know. For me, I thought it was near Berlin. We have B-type guardrails, which are in a lot of places, but yeah, for me, I don't know. It looked like coastal north, even maybe, or like maybe we were just near water, is what I thought. So that's why I'm near Berlin. But maybe after looking at the architecture, maybe it doesn't really fit as good here, because we would get a bit more Polish-looking houses, or like Eastern Germany-looking houses. But I don't know. It's tough for me to guess this one correctly, essentially. And yeah, I'm just looking for the train line as well. I mean, this does obviously clearly does not work. And I realized so. And yeah, I'm still looking. And I'm just like, you know what? He's already sent. And I shake my screen angrily, and it just ends up being west of Dortmund there. Definitely findable, maybe, allegedly. But yeah, nice guess by Jewel and NRW to close it out, and we lose 17 rating. That's where I'm going to end off the video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll look to be doing more of these. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the voiceover format. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another GeoGuessr video. Peace.